Welcome to The Beat with CQ Roll Call. Today's Beat, How Government Works. We'll be talking with Paul Singer, Associate Editor of Roll Call, about his new project tracking lobbying and influence in Washington. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
You've started a new project called How Government Works. Can you tell me how that works?
Sure. How Government Works is our attempt to sort of bring to one place the stories that we write throughout Roll Call about sort of the mechanisms behind the scenes of government, both governing in Congress, also within the agencies, and the lobbying and influence that goes into making policy and politics in Washington.
So one of the stories that you're working on right now is about a guy who's trying to lobby for safer table saws. How has that worked its way through the system? And
that's a perfect example of the sort of how government works. Guy creates a device to make a table saw safer. Basically, it shuts itself off before it slices off your finger. But he can't get the industry to buy his device to attach to table saws. So instead, he asks government to intervene and set a safety standard. That starts taking too long. The government sort of scratches their head. They can't decide what to do. So now he goes to the next step. He develops a campaign. He gets a bunch of allies, people who've been injured by table saws. He hires a lobbyist, and now he's having press conferences in Washington demanding new, safer table saws and standards written by government to require people to have a safer table saw. That sort of tracks through the whole process. Here you start with an innovation. You end up with a request of government, you end up with a lobbying campaign to back it, and now he's trying to get people to pass legislation to actually mandate new, safer saws.
So how many years has it been so far since he invented this?
I think he's been at it for about 10 years. I mean, my understanding is that he submitted his request to the Consumer Product Safety Commission in 2003. It's now 2011. That's how long it's been taking him.
So the answer partly to your question is how government works is that government works very slowly.
And part of what we track, and I think what is so interesting about the stories that we're finding, is that it takes an enormously long time and a lot of energy and resources to make stuff happen in Washington. It's one thing to get up and issue a press release or to say, well, I've got this new idea, we're going to pass this bill. It's a whole other animal to actually get it passed, implemented into law, and implemented into law and implemented by the agency in the way you intended it to be in the first place.
Now, the other sort of thing that we see in your stories is the process of people who are advocating for something getting educated themselves on how government works. You talked about the man in the table saw sort of moving through the process of becoming a lobbyist. One of the other groups we're seeing a lot of that happen with is the Tea Party. Now, tell me what the current status is of a lot of those Tea Party activists.
Well, in fact, what we have been tracking, I'd say, again, in something of a series of stories, is the Tea Party emerged as a very amateur movement. And I don't mean that as a derogatory term. Really amateurs. They were people who were not involved in politics, who got involved in politics and got interested in politics and became very active and immediately became very powerful as well, very influential. What is happening now is that they are becoming more of an organized movement. That includes paid professional political jobs for people who were housewives or house husbands or plumbers or whatever else 2 years ago. Now they are actually paid political operatives through the Tea Party movement. We've written stories about the Tea Party turning pro. They're also hiring political professionals to consult with them. They are hiring lobbyists to help them in Washington. And now we wrote a story just a few days ago about they are developing a strategy for reaching out to minorities who have not been heavily represented in the Tea Party movement.
So in a way, how government works could easily have been how activism works or how lobbying works or how advocacy works.
Yeah, and we chose how government works because it sort of reflects what the stories reflect. This is what's happening. This is what's happening to move government. This is how government is being moved. This is how government actually functions.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.